Good evening, race fans, and here we are once again for another special episode of Riding Shotgun Conversations with Tuason Racing. And tonight we're going to start a new series where we're going to interview entrepreneurs who are the movers and shakers of the automotive industry. So for tonight, our guest is a personal friend of mine. He is a travel buddy, and he has raced jet skis and has changed the way we commute in the Philippines. Let's all welcome Mr. George Royeca of Angkas. George, come on down, my friend.
Hi, JP. Thanks for having me.
How you doing?
Hello, everybody that's watching Tuason Racing. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Okay, so to get started, a lot of people don't know that you are a racer yourself, right? And as I said earlier, you started motorsports in jet skis. Let's take a look at this photo.
Wow.
Tell us a bit about that. Yeah, oh my gosh.
A blast from the past, dude. I think I was like, 12, 11. I used to race dirt bikes during the off season, but my first love was really water sports, motorsports and water, jet skiing. And it, became a passion for me. I was very, very competitive, even at a very young age. And this is where I, really was, had my element, was in my element.
Well, what year was this, man?
Oh, man, this was 96, I think. Yeah, 95, okay. 96. Yeah.
And how did you get started?
We were in Palawan, and I saw a stand-up.
Yeah.
And a lot of people fall when they do a stand-up. And I think I was about 11 or 10. And I just stood up and I started pulling the throttle. And then my brother was like, whoa, you're skiing on your first try. And yeah, I've loved it ever since. The problem was, it's just, things got busy and I didn't really pursue it that much. But, and also because it was allowed back then, environmental laws allowed two-stroke engines to be used, and then they moved to four-stroke engines, and it just kind of like killed the industry a little bit, especially the stand-up. So I was racing three classes: the stand-up, the sport, and the runabout. So it was amazing. Every weekend I was in the beach. Back then it was Subic, and we would go all over the country. From Luzon down to Mindanao. And our biggest rival were actually the Cebuanos. So it was the Manileños versus the Cebuanos vying for the title. I think I was Rookie of the Year my first year then. And it just, I raced for a few years and then raced a few international circuits as well. But yeah, didn't go all the way, unfortunately. It didn't become my career, or otherwise it wouldn't be any Angkas.
Well, I think you found success not only on the jet skis, but a lot more now in what you're doing. And what I wanted to do tonight is talk a bit about that. I wanted to talk about your entrepreneurial journey to get to where you are today. So let's hear your story, George. Tell us about how you became successful and how you got to today. Well, I think we got some photos, right? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, again. I used to be a director, actually. Again, a lot of influence from my brother. My whole family was in the showbiz industry. And there were actors, directors, musical directors. And my first job was actually a musical scorer for TGIS. Thank God It's Sabado. It's a very, very, very old TV series. I don't know if any of your viewers know it. I'm sure, JP, you've watched it a few times. And I would do the music, right?
That's dating us, bro.
And then, and as I was in high school back then, it was pretty fun, right? Because you're doing all these cool stuff and you're hanging out with stars. And eventually I graduated to becoming an assistant director and a director. I was in a lot of the singing shows. Sarah Geronimo was one of our first champions in Star for a Night, which I was the floor director on. And I really loved the arts. I loved telling a story. But then, unfortunately, or fortunately, I ended up with another love, which is business. I realized early on that, although I love the arts, it's just, I wanted to direct movies and TV series the way I wanted to do it, and the stories I wanted to tell. And back then, unfortunately, you had to follow the producer. So I said, I should be a producer. I shouldn't be just a director. I should be a producer. I didn't have money. So I decided to kind of pivot. That was like my very first pivot into business.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the photos that we're looking at now, are these photos of you being involved in the music or producing?
No, I was directing here. Yeah, I was the
You're
producer,
directing already. Okay.
producer director already here.
Okay.
Yeah, but then back then I was just a very very lowly PA that moved to musical scoring and became an assistant to the assistant director or second unit director, and then et cetera, et cetera. And it was a ladder. It was a tough climb all the way to being a director. And then finally, when I was a director, I was like, yes, I'm the boss. No, you're not. It's the producer that's the boss. And that was
Okay.
that was a big awakening for me. So yeah.
What was your biggest project that you were doing as a director?
The singing shows, Star for a Night, Search for a Star. I was the floor director for those TV series.
Okay.
That was Rachel Ango, Sarah Geronimo. We discovered her. We had a lot of mall shows, mall tours, and it never really left me. After that, I started going online. I did, I launched a Wi-Fi service in very very early on. I think this was 2002. I launched a Wi-Fi service in Pasig,
Okay.
when broadband was like super super expensive, and a lot of people were just nobody had DHL. 70% of the market was internet cafes. 30% was home, and I got a bunch of bandwidth from PLDT, and I hacked into the router and
Okay.
I redistributed the bandwidth, which apparently was illegal in our country. And then that didn't sit well with PLDT. It was called Wi-Fi ng Bayan. They're always trying to democratize things, right, and giving it away. Apparently, I was giving it away. So that got shut down, quite fast. But then we were doing very, very well. I mean, I think we had the whole Value Verde covered from Value Verde 1 to Value Verde 6. I had like maybe 5,000 subscribers when, back then Smart Bro had 20,000 in the entire country.
Right.
So it was cute. And then I saw the potential of online very, very early on.
Okay.
And again, my passion for storytelling has led me to online games, and that's where a lot of my online gaming work really. This is me. That's me, bald, wearing in a dance game. It's a dancing game. We did
Okay.
this partnership with GMA, again going back to showbiz. I think that's what I want to do, right? All of this thing I'm doing, working and advocacy, really just goes back to me wanting to be a star. So
Okay.
unfortunately, I can never quite get there directly, right? So here I was the head, as the president of an casual online gaming company.
Okay.
We were the top gaming company in the country. We publish online games from Korea, from China, from the US. And back then, again, it was a social thing because everybody would go to internet cafes, right? Nobody, that was the gimmick, right? They would go there, and a lot of kids there, and they would play Counter-Strike, they would play League of Legends, they would play StarCraft. And here we came in and we started charging what we called MMORPG back then, and then that led to esports and e-gaming. And yeah, we I think we changed the dynamics of internet back then, if I may say so. And gaming led the way to really get more internet bandwidth in, and and drive penetration into the country. So we were quite proud of that. And it was very very early on. I mean, we were trying to do gaming on dial-up, right? Where you would download a song in Napster that would take 3 hours, and now it takes a few minutes. It's amazing how much we've seen in terms of the evolution of online in our country. So I am
So do you think?
I'm an online dinosaur,
Okay.
bro. I've been in the online business for a very very long time.
Do you think some of your ideas came too early?
Yeah, yep, a lot. I mean, it's about timing. I think timing and execution is always key. And just sometimes it's just too early on. Like it was one of the things that I thought was what to do was actually put a server and put a lot of movies to because I had a lot of movies in my computer.
Okay.
And I wanted to offer that. Apparently, there's copyright issues on that as well, right? So back then, it was really, really the wild, wild west on the internet,
Right.
and the streaming capability was just not there yet, even locally. I mean, within the local network. So, there was a lot of challenges, but then I think, as a pioneer, in that online space, you get to tinker a lot with things, and you get to see where things are going. And I'm not surprised where we are now. Yeah.
So after you did your stint in the gaming, what happened next?
So I think about maybe, man, I don't know, 8 or 8 years ago, maybe I decided to go out on my own. So I started helping out investments for wealthy families,
Okay.
and I actually went back to a little bit of TV. So I was the chief investment officer for the Solar Group, and I was
Okay.
helping the chairman with some of the family investments. And I ended up, for some reason, um, taking over Solar Entertainment, and I became their
Mm,
chief revenue
nice.
officer for a year. And then after that, I just said that I gotta just go out on my own and do things. And I started my own content company. I became a producer, right? So
Okay.
I always went back to that, and I started doing a lot of these things, right? So this is what you're seeing here is actually Brand Pilipinas. It's an advocacy that I launched together with Robin Padilla and guys from Maklang, and we were focused on trying to valorize Filipino first.
Right.
This was a few years back. We did a music video. I think the next, if you can show them the next one, I think it's a music video of me singing. Yeah, and I told you, right? My first love always goes back to that. And we had a bunch of people from different sectors, right? The business sector, the advertising sector, celebrities, be part of a music video, which I produced. Also helped produce the music there, which we got Quest, fantastic guy, great producer, great songwriter, amazing rapper. And this song is one of my bigger achievements, personal achievements. And yeah, so for a while I was really focused on producing a lot of commercials, content, video content. And I started pushing more on the content side, really focused on the storytelling.
So this was in 2018, right? I actually
Yeah,
remember you telling me about this, and
yeah, yeah.
you let me hear the song. This
Yeah,
is
dude.
this was pretty awesome. You put
Thanks,
all those
buddy.
people together. That's
Yeah,
amazing. And
yeah.
where did this go for you? Where did
Uh,
this take you?
I think this married three things for me, right? Three pillars in my life, right? Business, advocacy, and storytelling. And this for me was like when I realized that, these are the three things that I'm quite good at. I have a vision, I have a plan, and I always want to focus on things that would have some impact to my country. And what happened was my wife decided to start this, motorcycle business, very small motorcycle business, and disrupted my whole company when I was just focused on content. And
Okay.
and because they were so successful in the beginning and was under a lot of pressure, tremendous pressure from the regulators, I had to come in, and I was a big partner in trying to push the legitimization of motorcycle taxis. So we even developed and coined the term motorcycle taxi, and me and my wife became partners. Which thinking back, there's something that I've always wanted was to have my wife as a partner in business, just like you and Jeanette. And that's what my mom and dad was for the longest time. They were partners in their business and partners. Just fortunately, I had the right decision of making sure that she was my boss. So my wife is actually the CEO of Angkas, and I report to her. But it was fun. It was fun working with her. Stressful many times, and it does bleed into the family a little bit. And I'm sure you know a lot about that, JP.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's with Angkas, everything that I've learned, from being, one of the pioneers in online, my first love in, storytelling, and the advocacy that was developed, or my passion for advocacy that's developed across, throughout the years. And I guess my penchant for wanting to be in the camera. So,
So you married all of it, huh?
Married all of it,
by
man.
doing Angkas.
Yeah, and it's always my wife would always say that every single time. She's like, she's always in the background, I'm always in the foreground, and I always
So
tell
it's
her it's for the
perfect.
country. Yeah. So there you
So
go.
I think a lot of people out there would like to know a little bit of how Angkas got started, because you were saying that you were involved in uh, this promotion of brand Pilipinas, of our local products, right? And then at the same time, Angkas was also going at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, my wife started it, and what
What year
happened
was
was
this?
2000, end of 2016, maybe beginning of 2017.
Okay.
Right? And then she had a small band of merry men doing her bidding, and I was kind of like there but not there, right? Because I
Okay.
really wanted to be going back to showbiz and become a rock star. That was my dream and that was my plan, right? Well, she
Okay.
made money, right? I did get
Nice.
to do my thing,
Nice.
and then so I was advising a little bit about marketing, a little bit about what they should be doing, how to position themselves, and then they got shut down, right? And
Okay.
then the office got padlocked, and I was advising more because they had to move the office in our house. So this was like COVID lockdown for us, the original COVID lockdown, right? Because our
And what
office,
year was this? What year is this? Give us a
this was
timeline.
2018, thereabouts,
Okay.
maybe December of 2017, I think, if I'm not mistaken, around towards the end of 2017. And they were all in the house. I could hear all of them talk about things. And I'm like, that's not right. Don't do that. That's really stupid.
Yeah.
Right? This is what you do. This is what you do. And then eventually she's like, you keep talking too much. Why don't you just kind of like do this? And like, hey, I got a dream, miss, right? I'm on my way to become
A rock
my
star.
rock
Woo!
star in my showbiz career, and then yeah, I just said I got into it, dug, got deeper and deeper, researched about it some more, saw the impact that it had to a lot of Filipinos, not the Ducatis, not the BMWs, but I'm talking about the scooters and the underbones, which is 99% of 18 million motorcycles in the country,
Right.
and all of them coming from low income family households. And I was like, this isn't right. We got to do something about this. And yeah, and we've had that very consistent story told. So I think at the end of it all, I got what I wanted. Right, I was able to tell a story, advocate, and have some impact.
So where have you been able to take that from that point in time where you were at a closure? It was really difficult. Where have you been able to take that before COVID, right? Because obviously COVID is another story.
It's a crazy journey. I mean, I think for us, we've failed so many times, and I think that's what's really made us, very determined. And our core team is still the same core team from when we started. When we were like,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
it's still the same people, and we've gone through like a crazy journey together. Very very solid. It was funny. As things got harder, that's actually what made us better, and that's what made me see really how people behaved, how things would develop, right? What was the important things? What were the levers that would really push our journey forward? I learned a lot about marketing. I learned a lot about social behavior. I learned a lot about the people.
Okay.
And when we were under fire, when back then, I think we weren't as big. We had maybe about 10,000 or 15,000 riders. It was funny because the media would ambush our bikers, right? And of course, we
Right.
didn't have the infrastructure to teach them what they had to say. But it was almost magical that they would say the exact same thing I said, and it was they would do that because it was very authentic. We were really speaking for them, and there was no coaching in between, and everyone from employees, to the utility guy, to the motorcycle guy, the driver that is like maybe the 16,000th driver that doesn't know the journey of Angkas knew what we were all fighting for. And for us, that's always something very, very special.
So everybody was aligned with sort of the message, right? The message
Yeah,
of what
dude.
you guys were
Without
doing.
messaging, right? Without a messaging framework, without messaging architecture, we didn't have a PR team, nothing. It was just, they knew what we were doing. We knew what their qualms were. They knew what we were fighting for, and everybody just saw eye to eye and moved forward.
You talked a lot just now about challenges, failures that you've had along the way. If there was one super challenge or super failure that you've experienced in your journey that taught you something, right? That has made you a better entrepreneur, that will guide you into the future, what would that be?
I think for me, it's I always would look for that moment, right? That one moment in time that would kind of break you, and then I realized that things always break you, right? It gets
Right.
bigger and bigger and bigger, and what I realize is the analogy I always give in all my talks is you have this 3-year-old. Picture this 3-year-old who doesn't get his candy or doesn't get go out and play, and his stress level is 90%, and he thinks he's just the end of the world. And fast forward 20 years later, you're 23 and you've got mortgage to pay, you've got all of these things that you need to do, and your stress level is 90%, and your stress level is actually no different from that 3-year-old kid. The difference now is that you have more experience, right? And you know how to
Right.
handle things better. And I think for me, it's more of a collection of big failures. And I've been shut down by the government, I don't know, two to three times already. Fourth time, COVID. You know what I mean? So it's almost like clockwork for us. When shit hits the fan, we don't panic. It's like, yes, there's another day in the office. And what we realize is it doesn't get any easier. You get more problems.
Yeah.
But what you need to figure out is you need to learn from those mistakes and kind of make sure that you convert them to things that equip you on how to handle certain things. So it's all a matter of perspective. I know that's been said many, many times before, but it's true, right? I mean, it's really, really true. Failure is a blessing.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, getting shut down is a failure. I mean, right now we're shut down, dude. 99% of our business is gone, right?
Okay.
And what our run-ins with the government that we've been trying to do, what they've been trying to do, or been wanting to do back then, when we weren't working with them, COVID did in one fell swoop. And this is our biggest challenge today, and now it's worse because, at least back then it was just us and a few thousand bikers. Now we have over 30,000 families to think about that depend on this, and we can't fail. If I fail, then for me, I'm failing a few million riders that need dignity, legitimacy, and these all their lives for the last 20 years, they've been stopped on the streets, being criminals, criminalizing their activities. And then that's what I'm trying to tell the government. And they've listened that this is not a criminal act. This is an act of them saving their families. Unsafe, yes,
Right.
but because nobody's taught them otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and it's there's more challenges to come. It hasn't changed. COVID, before Angkas came into the picture, motorcycles were dangerous. It wasn't cool, right? You wouldn't ride habal-habal. We made it safe, right? And now everybody is comfortable riding it. COVID is the same thing. Now, how do we make back riding safe again during the COVID situation? How do you make public transportation safe again? How do you make everything safe again? Because this virus isn't going anywhere. It's not. It's going to take a year, minimum 2 years for it to normalize, at the very least. And what are you going to do then? You're going to stay at home, buy a beach house?
Well, that's a good idea. But it's great that you were talking about safety. And one of the things that I did want to touch on, and maybe we can show the next photo, is you actually, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk, right? Because you got involved in not only trying to make motorcycling safer, right? So here you've got, you're giving away the crash helmets, right?
Yeah.
And I think in the next photo, we'll see that you are also a rider, right?
Yes, I'm a rider. Hello, guys. I ride. I used to ride. Now I'm on my desk on Zoom calls. I've always loved riding ever since I was a kid. More than cars, actually. I love motorcycles more than cars. I would rather be in a motorcycle than be in a car. I've done everything. So I'm part of the Philippine National Police HPG MRST training. So I did the training. I also did the training in the US. So we brought in Total Control, which trains the US Marines and the US Army for motorcycle safety. And state of California, state of Pennsylvania. California, I think, is one of the most progressive in terms of motorcycle laws in the entire world. And they're the ones that kind of, help design the framework for, motorcycle safety. So our commitment to safety is real. It's authentic. And I think a lot of the bikers, even our detractors, respect that, we don't do things just because, and we'd rather lose money on something to make sure that we are able to kind of push the envelope a bit forward and look at it really from the long-term view. Motorcycle has always been, I think motorsports has always been in my blood. I've never raced motorcycles though. My wife won't let me.
Maybe JP, I can help you there. I can help you there, but maybe on another show.
Yes. We've even my wife, she's gone through all of the training, we know it from both sides. We know it, we were really big on all of these safety, institutionalizing the safety mindset for motorcycles in not just in this country, in Southeast Asia. In fact, we have a 99.997% safety record, which means our accident rate is 0.003%. And the national average is 50% of all deaths come from motorcycles or are motorcycle related in the entire country. And that's 18 million motorcycles versus 3 million cars. And 50% of those 3 million cars are in Metro Manila. So if you look at the statistics, it's stacked against cars, it's stacked against motorcycles. And it's a very dramatic figure. And we've brought down that average to almost something that's very, very negligible. And this is one of the highest safety ratings in the entire Southeast Asia. And the reason for that is, in Vietnam and Thailand, Indonesia, they don't care about accidents so much because it's so rampant, right? Yeah. They're so desensitized with it. And in the Philippines, we think that we're not a motorcycle country because a lot of the decision and the policies are made in the capital. But when you go out of the NCR, everything is motorcycles, and people look down on it from the capital, and we've really tore down walls to be able to get that accepted.
Yeah, and you've also done a lot of training, right? Everybody that goes through your rider program before they can actually be one of your riders has to do a rider safety program, right?
Yeah, I mean, we fail over 70% of all applicants, but then it's free. You can try it again and again and again, train yourself, and then train with us, and then take the tests. And hopefully the 70% that we touch on and fail, they don't get to be Angkas bikers, but then at least they get a little bit of knowledge on how to ride a motorcycle. And, and hopefully that kind of branches out to having, really a safety mindset. And it's quite amazing, right? It's monkey see, monkey do. So they see a motorcycle, Angkas motorcycle, like not cross a zebra, not go over a zebra crossing in an intersection, and then they actually reverse, they backpedal, right? They move their motorcycles back because they're embarrassed, right? So it's hopefully we shine that light and become a beacon to many of the different guys that don't know any better, because they weren't given the chance to get that type of training. I mean, there's one training school, for public training school for everybody in the entire country. Your school is it's not for everybody. It's for like really, really, really good bikers. Maybe I won't even pass that school.
No, you're definitely gonna come to the school if we get it started next year.
Yes, but you know what I mean. It's not for 30 million Filipinos or 12 million or 18 million Filipinos. So we're still far. We're still far from there, and hopefully one day we will get there.
Okay, so we've talked about producing music. We've talked about directing. We've talked about online gaming. We've talked about Angkas. We've talked about producing, doing brands for promoting brands for Philippines, right? Philippine products. And now you are involved in something else as well. Can we let's move on to the next photo? What have we got here, George? You are very, very busy.
Yes. So I guess this is, again, my passion for advocacy. We got together with a lot of the different digital platforms. Joey Concepcion was a big help here. He's had Go Negosyo for about 15 years. He's really been a champion for the SMEs or the MSMEs. And, I was telling him that, the future is on digital. And you've seen that and that's a grassroots uprooting of uplifting lives at the grassroots level, and that's something that we were able to display with Angkas, and a lot of these digital platforms has popped up, like Lalamove and Grab and Food Panda, and back then it was the massage app, Xenia,
yeah.
Right, and there's a lot of service apps. So we were digitizing. We're giving a marketplace to many, low income wage earners or would be entrepreneurs that couldn't sell their wares. So we decided to put up a group together under Joey. Secretary Joey Concepcion is the Philippine presidential advisor for entrepreneurship in the Philippines, and we put all of the major digital platforms together, and we talked to them. And we told them that let's stop competing with each other for now, set that aside, because what we're competing with is scraps. We're like 5% of the entire economy, where the physical retail dominates. There are competitors, right? So let's get ourselves to 50%, then we can start killing each other. But while we're small, whatever
work together
we're doing, it's not growing the industry. So we created this Advocacy, the Digital Alliance, and it's grown. I think we have more than 80 brands now that we've been pushing and helping out like a big brother in mentorship, capital, marketplace, synergies, and opportunities. And I have some friends also that started creating their own apps, delivery apps and whatnot. And they call me and they're like, hey man, can I ask you for advice? Hell, of course you can ask me for advice. I mean, the Philippines is big. It's huge. It's 100 million Filipinos. There's enough for everybody. And you can definitely niche yourself somewhere there and, have yourself a nice little lucrative business. And this is really what we want to advocate. It's, becoming a seller in Lazada and Shopee is as simple as 1, 2, 3. A 9-year-old can do it, and so can a sari-sari store owner. And now, instead of just that street that you service, you can service, the entire country and maybe even internationally. So, it sounds very big and grand, but again, it's a long way from there. We've got a lot of things to do, and this COVID situation has really kind of accelerated a lot of these digital solutions that we need. And hopefully now we have a bigger voice and a bigger platform. And, people see the value of digital more than ever.
So number one, I totally agree that this situation has accelerated or moved everybody to looking more seriously at digital platforms. And number two, what's interesting is it seems that you have been in that space for so long that you are now an expert in all of that. All of the things that you're doing are circling back. And having said that, with all the experiences that you've had over the last 18, 20 years of your career, what are the things that you have not yet achieved, or what are your dreams that you have not yet achieved, and what do you think will be the future for George Royeca?
I think I want to be a rock star still, man.
Yeah.
Rock and roll, right?
Do it.
I was in a high school band that I'll never forget, right? So it's but kidding aside, I think there's a lot of things that we can do for this country. Digital has made it possible to bridge that gap between poverty and and not even the rich, impoverished, uneducated, to merchants, thriving merchants, right? And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to, it sounds so hokey saying it, but I really think that in our lifetime we can end poverty in the Philippines. Seriously.
Wow.
We can employ 100% of our Filipinos. Maybe not the babies, but as long as you're above 9 years old and you can sell in Lazada, then we can employ.
I think that is an amazing dream, especially with the situation that we have today, right? I mean, if everybody works together and can achieve something like that, like ending major unemployment and ending major poverty in the country, I think that is definitely a dream to work towards. And man, if you are going down that path, I'm in. Let me know.
Of course, man. Always. I mean, it sounds it's definitely a daunting task. It's a mammoth job, but it's not hard. It's not hard. If you really focus on it, it can be done. It's not an impossible dream, and I really believe that before I die, 100% of those that need to be employed in this country will be employed.
Nice. There you go, you guys. George Royeca of Angkas. Okay, so we've now gotten to the part where we're going to raffle off something very, very cool.
Yes.
We've got some gifts from Angkas. The first one is, what have we got, George?
A shirt.
A shirt. Okay, cool.
Yes.
And what's the second item?
It's not a used shirt, okay? I'll give you a brand new.
Yeah.
I know we're cost
Sana
cutting.
something big. Sana something big, George. Baka that shirt won't fit a lot of people.
It was Angkas Shield. Let's go give that.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
Yes.
The controversial Angkas Shield. So you get a shirt and you get a shield.
Yes.
Very cool.
And you can start crime with both those things.
There you go. There you go. All right. So, George, to be able to win these raffle items, what is your question to our viewers?
Shit, now that's hard. Okay. When did Angkas start? I guess, yeah.
There you go. So if you didn't hear it in the podcast tonight, you can probably Google it. Fifth person to put the correct answer in the comments below. Okay, what year did Angkas start? Will win a motorcycle barrier and a T-shirt from Angkas. All right. Good luck to you guys all. All right. So George, ending message to our viewers.
I think for me, the journey that I had to endure is really a journey of bridging gaps, right? We always thought that government was bad, they were evil, and we're good, we're the innovators. And as you as you grow into this and as you're able to push things forward, you won't be able to do it alone. And you'll realize that it's not about good or evil. It's not about right or wrong. It's a matter of perspectives, right? And if we didn't realize that why the government was so hell bent on shutting us down back then, because they didn't trust motorcycles and they didn't trust anybody that was espousing or advocating safety for motorcycles, then Angkas would never have succeeded. And we realized early on that, hey, they're coming from somewhere, and that's what we tried to convince them of. We tried to solve that particular problem. As an entrepreneur, it's hard to open up a business, super duper hard. Very, very difficult. There's a lot of landmines. There's a lot of setbacks. So if you're going to do it, if you're going to go through the gauntlet already and become an entrepreneur, you might as well do something that would solve an actual problem, not just make money for yourself, right? Because it's difficult already. So might as well solve something. And I think my last parting words for everybody is, nothing ever markets itself. So don't ever fall in love with an idea just because you thought of it and it's great. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. That's not true. Even if you have the cure for cancer today, you'd have to market it. You'd have to let people know about it. You'd have to distribute it. And you don't ever fall into the trap that, your idea is the best thing more than anything else, because, it probably isn't until you execute on it very, very well. So for me, those are the things that I've learned throughout this journey, and I hope you guys have learned a thing or two on this. And be an entrepreneur. Don't be an employee. So go ahead and do something. Now you're an employee. Maybe you're worried about your job because of the COVID situation. So set up a home business, dude. Go to one of the digital platforms and sell something. That's the way to start. Don't be afraid. Just do it. You'll never know how to do it until you do it, no matter how many YouTubes or Google searches you do. Just do it.
There you go. Mr. George Royeca, the congressman from Angkas.
No way, dude. Private sector.
You've got my vote to end unemployment and poverty. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Great inspiration from our guest tonight. We hope to see you guys at our next podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. And of course, stay tuned to our next episode. My name is Jp Tuason. This has been Riding Shotgun Conversations. Thanks, you guys, and see you. Peace.